Welcome to Science to Sleep By. Tonight, I invite you to rest back, close your eyes, and journey with me through one of the most fascinating questions in modern physics. Are we, in fact, living inside a higher dimensional space-time? As you breathe deeply, let the sound of these words carry you, not as a lecture, but as a gentle drift into curiosity, wonder, and rest. Together, we'll explore dimensions beyond the familiar three, and allow the mysteries of the universe to cradle your imagination into sleep. When you think of the world around you, you probably imagine the simplest way we humans experience existence: up and down, left and right, forward and backward. These are the familiar directions, the ones we learn as children, the ones that give our bodies a sense of place. They are the essence of three-dimensional space, the way our senses and our movement combine to form our reality. Yet, as we close our eyes and rest in the stillness of the night, there is something deeply soothing about imagining that this everyday geometry is only the beginning. In fact, for generations of scientists and dreamers alike, the possibility has always lingered that what we experience is just a slice of something larger, something more profound, something woven with dimensions that stretch quietly beyond what our eyes can see. This thought, when held gently, has the power to quiet the noise of the day and invite the imagination into a calmer, deeper realm of curiosity. Imagine floating in a calm sea, where there is no up, no down, no left, no right, only the smoothness of a boundless expanse. In this serene vision, you are free of boundaries. The idea of dimensions is like the soft current around you. Each current flows in its own way, giving structure to the movement of water, yet you do not resist it. You allow yourself to drift, and in drifting, you begin to understand that dimensions are not barriers, but invitations. They are gentle frameworks through which existence arranges itself. The calm vastness of dimensions is not harsh or mechanical, it is soft, infinite, and eternal. It is like the fabric of a dream, stretching endlessly without edges. For centuries, philosophers wondered about these directions of being. Ancient thinkers asked questions that were simple and profound. What is above us? What is below us? And what lies beyond the stars? They saw space as layered, structured, almost like an invisible architecture built into reality. These early questions were the first whispers of higher dimensions. They were not yet equations or theories, but they carried the same sense of wonder that still accompanies modern physics. As the world grew quieter at night, and fires burned low, human beings looked up at the endless stars and felt that reality must be deeper than it appeared. The calm vastness of dimensions is felt most vividly when you allow yourself to see beyond the ordinary. Think of a line. It has only one dimension. It moves forward, and that is all. Now think of a square. Suddenly, second dimension appears. The line expands sideways and form emerges. Add another layer, and you have a cube, solid and real. Yet what if the cube itself is just the shadow of something greater? What if we, too, are shadows of structures that unfold in spaces beyond our comprehension? Holding this thought is not meant to trouble the mind, but to ease it, the way a soft melody eases the heart. It allows us to recognize that there is always more to existence than meets the eye. When you breathe deeply, you can imagine your breath flowing not just into your lungs, but gently expanding into unseen spaces. With each inhale, you touch the invisible edges of higher realms, and with each exhale, you release the weight of the day. The calm vastness of dimensions is not a puzzle to be solved tonight, but a feeling to be embraced. It is the quiet reassurance that the universe is both larger and gentler than we can ever measure. Just as your body rests upon a bed and the bed rests upon the earth, so too do our three familiar dimensions rest upon the soft and seen foundation of higher spaces. These hidden layers cradle us even when we are unaware of them. Scientists who first began to imagine additional dimensions did not do so out of impatience, but out of awe. They saw that the three we know could not answer every mystery, that there must be more to reality than the paths we walk and the skies we see. Their work was like poetry in numbers, each equation a verse that spoke of something beyond sight, beyond touch, yet still present. The calm vastness of dimensions is not only a scientific idea, but also a deeply human comfort, the reminder that reality has depth, that it is not flat, and that there will always be more waiting quietly beyond the edge of what we know. Think of a shadow falling on the wall. It looks flat. It moves as the object moves, but it is not the whole truth. The real object has depth, weight, texture, things the shadow cannot reveal. Our lives, in this perspective, may be like shadows of a higher existence. Perhaps we see only part of reality, the flat surface projected into our senses, while the fullness of the universe exists in layers we cannot grasp. And yet, there is something soothing in this thought. Because if reality is deeper, then life itself is part of something vast and unending. Like a lullaby sung by the cosmos, the hidden dimensions remind us that the mystery is never exhausted. In the stillness of night, we are freed from the urgency of answers. We can let the imagination wander. Close your eyes and imagine standing in an open field, where the horizon stretches endlessly. You take a step, and another, but instead of walking only forward, you begin to drift in directions you never knew existed. Perhaps you rise gently into the sky, but into a new axis, a new kind of space. Perhaps you feel yourself slide into a dimension that is not above, below, left, or right, but something entirely new, something unnameable. And yet, it feels peaceful, as though it has always been there, holding you in silence. This is the calm vastness of dimensions, the idea that we live not in confinement, but in abundance. Dimensions are not walls, they are doors. They are the unseen corridors through which the universe stretches and expands. Every star, every planet, every breath you take is part of this quiet geometry. We may not see it directly, but it holds us gently, like a vast net of existence. And in that thought, there is comfort, because it means we are never small, never isolated. We are always part of a larger whole, woven softly into the layers of reality that extend far beyond the reach of sight. As you listen, let the rhythm of your breath sync with the rhythm of the cosmos. Feel the gentle pull of gravity, the softness of space around you, the way your body rests effortlessly in this moment. You are already part of something larger, something dimensional and infinite. The calm vastness of dimensions is not out there, waiting, it is already here. In every direction you cannot name, in every silence you cannot measure, in every thought that drifts like a cloud into the night sky. When we think of dimensions, we first imagine them as physical directions we can move in, forward and backward, left and right, up and down. But in the early 20th century, Albert Einstein reshaped this simple picture in a way that forever changed our understanding of reality. His great insight was that space is not separate from time, but rather the two are woven together, inseparably, into a single fabric, spacetime. To appreciate the depth of this idea, let us approach it not as a mathematical equation or a technical detail, but as a calm and steady reflection, something to be felt rather than solved, something that can gently guide the mind into a place of wonder and rest. Before Einstein, the universe was thought of in two distinct parts. There was the space in which things happened, and there was the ticking of time that measured when they happened. Space was the silent stage, and time was the steady rhythm of the clock. These two aspects of reality were considered separate, existing independently of each other. But Einstein showed us that this separation was an illusion. Time is not a detached metronome, and space is not an empty backdrop. Instead, they are united in one dynamic entity, four-dimensional continuum. This was not just a revolution in physics, but a profound reimagining of reality itself. Imagine holding a piece of fabric in your hands. If you tug at one end, the fabric responds everywhere, stretching and curving in ways that ripple throughout its surface. This is how space-time behaves. It is not rigid, but pliant, not empty, but alive with structure. Planets, stars, and galaxies do not simply exist within it, they shape it. Their mass and energy bend the fabric, creating curves and folds that influence the motion of everything around them. And in turn, the paths of objects, from falling apples to orbiting moons, are simply the result of moving along the natural curves of this four-dimensional landscape. What makes Einstein's vision so soothing to reflect on at night is not only its scientific truth, but its elegance. There is a simplicity in realizing that gravity is not a mysterious invisible force pulling us downward, but rather the effect of spacetime gently guiding us along its curves. You are not being tugged toward the earth by some unseen hand. You are simply following the path laid out in the fabric of reality itself. This thought is like a lullaby, calming in its inevitability. You rest upon the earth because spacetime itself has made this the natural resting place. Consider time itself. In our daily lives, we imagine it flowing forward like a river, carrying us from moment to moment in one direction. Yet in Einstein's picture, time is not a separate stream, but one dimension within the broader expanse of spacetime. Just as we can walk north or south, east or west, we are also carried along the axis of time, always moving forward, never still. This journey is part of the fabric itself. The ticking of the clock, the rhythm of your breath, the unfolding of a night into morning, all are motions through spacetime. It is not only that we live within spacetime, but that our very existence is a constant journey through it. Einstein's insight invites us to view reality as a tapestry where the threads of space and time are woven together. Each star in the sky is a knot in this tapestry, bending and shaping the weave. Each moment you experience is not isolated, but connected, stretching into the larger design. And as you drift into stillness, you can imagine yourself resting upon this vast fabric, supported by it, carried by it, woven into its texture. There is no separation between you and the universe. You are part of the same cloth. Perhaps the most astonishing aspect of Einstein's spacetime is how it redefines gravity itself. In Newton's view, gravity was a force acting at a distance, invisible yet powerful, drawing masses together across the void. But Einstein replaced this with something subtler and more beautiful. Gravity is simply the bending of spacetime. The Earth orbits the Sun not because the Sun tugs on it, but because the Sun's mass curves spacetime, and the Earth follows the natural path within that curve. It is as though planets and stars are dancers on a floor that flexes beneath them, and the music is written into the geometry itself. This vision is both grounding and liberating. It grounds us by showing that we are not floating in a chaotic void, but resting within a structured, predictable continuum. And it liberates us by revealing that this continuum is not fixed but dynamic, bending and stretching in response to the presence of matter and energy. Every movement, every orbit, every falling leaf is part of this vast and gentle choreography. What is even more remarkable is how spacetime connects to the speed of light. According to Einstein, light is not just fast, it is the ultimate speed, the boundary that nothing can cross. It is the thread that defines the structure of spacetime itself. All events, all motions, all causes and effects are bound by this cosmic limit. When you see light from a distant star, you are witnessing a connection across spacetime, a message carried at the universe's maximum speed. The light shining through your window tonight may have traveled for millions of years across this woven fabric, moving faithfully along its curves, arriving here at this very moment to meet your eyes. As we think of spacetime, it helps to imagine it as a stage that is not passive but responsive. Imagine lying on a hammock that dips gently beneath your weight, swaying slightly with your movement. Now imagine that this hammock is stretched across the entire cosmos, and every planet, star, and galaxy rests upon it, curving it ever so slightly, shaping the paths that all others must follow. This is Einstein's universe, not static, not empty, but supple, live with geometry. And you too rest upon it. You too are part of its subtle curves. There is also a quiet intimacy in the thought that spacetime is not out there, separate from us, but here, with us, in every moment. Your body is made of mass, and mass shapes spacetime. In your small way, you bend the universe. The chair you sit in, the floor beneath your feet, even the air you breathe, all of these exist not on spacetime, but within it, inseparable from its structure. You are not an observer looking at a distant fabric. You are woven into it, a living thread in the cosmic cloth. And in this cloth, past, present, and future are not entirely separate. They are all part of the same continuum, stitched together. To imagine this is to imagine time not as a fleeting river, but as a landscape, We walk through this landscape one moment at a time, but the whole of it exists at once, spread across space-time. Every step you have taken, every breath you will take, is already part of this vast geometry. This is not meant to suggest predestination, but rather to comfort with the thought that life itself is a path through a larger, enduring structure. Einstein's spacetime is the starting point for so many questions about higher dimensions. If space and time themselves can be united, then what else might be hidden in the folds of reality? Could there be dimensions beyond these four? Dimensions that cradle spacetime itself the way spacetime cradles us? By beginning with Einstein's insight, we take the first calm step into a broader mystery. His spacetime is not the end of the story, but the threshold, the doorway that invites us to ask what lies beyond the familiar four. In the stillness of night, reflecting on this idea can be like floating gently in a dream. The ticking of the clock beside your bed is not just a reminder of time passing, but the echo of your journey through spacetime. The quiet pull of gravity that holds you against the earth is not a force, but the gentle curve of the cosmic fabric. The light of the stars outside is not simply brightness, but the pure expression of spacetime's geometry. All of this is connected, all of it woven together, all of it carrying you into the vastness of existence, softly, blissfully. Without resistancias, we drift further into the calm contemplation of dimensions. We arrive at a frontier that stretches the imagination even beyond Einstein's spacetime. If the union of space and time into a four-dimensional fabric was a profound step, modern physics offers an even deeper possibility that there may be extra layers of reality, hidden dimensions folded so delicately into the structure of the universe that we cannot see them with our eyes, yet they might shape everything we know. These extra dimensions arise in the realm of string theory, one of the most ambitious and intricate frameworks ever proposed to understand the fundamental nature of existence. It is a theory that invites us not only to expand our view of the cosmos, but to soften into the idea that reality is always more than what it appears. String theory begins with a simple yet radical idea. Instead of imagining the basic building blocks of the universe as tiny point-like particles, little dots with no size, string theory suggests that the most fundamental units are one-dimensional strands of energy. These strands, or strings, vibrate in different patterns, and their vibrations give rise to all the particles we observe. An electron is not a tiny ball, but a specific vibration of a string. A photon, the particle of light, is another vibration. Every force, every form of matter, every bit of energy is unified under this vision of vibrating strings. The poetry of the universe in this view is written not in dots, but in music. A cosmic symphony where every note is a particle and every melody a law of physics. But this elegant picture brings with it a profound consequence. For these strings to vibrate in all the ways necessary to produce the richness of our universe, they require more than just the three familiar dimensions of space and the one of time. They require additional dimensions, hidden directions that are curled up, compact, and unseen. String theory tells us that our universe may be woven not in 4 dimensions, but in 10 or even 11. The extra layers of reality are not vast expanses we can walk through, but tiny spaces folded into themselves, so small and intricate that we pass through them constantly without noticing. Just as a sheet of paper may seem flat from a distance, but reveal a thickness when you look closely, the universe itself may conceal extra dimensions, subtle and unseen, yet essential. To imagine these hidden dimensions. Picture a garden hose stretched across the ground. From far away, it appears as a simple line, one-dimensional object. But as you approach, you see that the hose is not just a line, it has a circular thickness, a dimension wrapped around itself. In the same way, the universe may seem to us as three-dimensional, but on scales too small for our senses, or even our most powerful microscopes, additional dimensions could be curled up tightly, forming loops and shapes that define the patterns of string vibrations. These hidden spaces may be the secret architecture that determines why particles have the masses they do, why the forces of nature have the strengths they possess, and why the universe looks the way it does. There is something dreamlike about this image of reality, as though the world is a tapestry whose threads are woven not just in the directions we know, but in hidden pathways folded inward. Imagine walking through a quiet forest, and with each step, you sense that beneath the ground there are hidden roots twisting and curling in patterns unseen. Yet it is those roots that sustain the trees, the soil, and the life above. The extra dimensions of string theory are like those hidden roots, unseen but essential, quiet but profound. Physicists who study these dimensions describe them through intricate mathematical shapes known as Calabi-Yau manifolds, structures so complex and beautiful that they seem almost like works of art crafted by the universe itself. These shapes are not like simple cubes or spheres, but multidimensional geometries with folds and twists beyond our ordinary imagination. Each possible shape could lead to a universe with different physical laws, different particles, and even different possibilities for life. Our cosmos may be one of countless outcomes, determined by the specific way in which these hidden dimensions are curled and folded. It is a thought both humbling and soothing, that the reality we know is not the only possible reality, but one expression of a much deeper and more mysterious design. The extra dimensions also offer an explanation for some of the greatest puzzles in physics. One of them is the question of gravity. Compared to the other forces of nature, gravity is astonishingly weak. You can lift a small paperclip with a refrigerator magnet, effortlessly overpowering the gravitational pull of the entire Earth. Why is gravity so faint compared to the forces of electromagnetism or the nuclear forces that hold atoms together? String theory offers a possibility that gravity is not confined to our familiar dimensions, but leaks into the hidden ones. It spreads out into these extra layers, diluting its strength in our visible world. What feels to us like weakness may, in fact, be the sign of gravity's deeper connection to dimensions beyond our sight. This idea transforms the way we think about our place in the cosmos. It means that what we observe may be only a surface, a projection of a larger reality. The world around us is not less real. Because of this, it is simply part of a greater whole. Just as a shadow is shaped by the object that casts it, our universe may be shaped by the higher dimensional spaces in which it resides. The extra layers of string theory remind us that our perspective is always limited, always partial, and that reality is richer than what we can touch or see. Reflecting on this in the quiet of night, it becomes a meditation. As you rest, you might imagine your body surrounded not only by the three directions of space, but by hidden folds of reality. Perhaps every breath you take resonates not only through the air around you, but through unseen dimensions, echoing gently in spaces that remain forever invisible. The calm vastness of these extra layers is not meant to overwhelm, but to comfort, for it shows us that existence is not bounded by what we can measure. It extends softly into places beyond our comprehension, places that cradle our world, even if we never perceive them. String theory, in this way, is not only a scientific pursuit, but a philosophical and even spiritual reflection. It suggests that the universe is not flat or simple but intricate, woven from threads of energy vibrating through layers upon layers of hidden space. It asks us to accept that the most real parts of existence may be the ones we cannot sense, and it invites us to see ourselves not as isolated beings in a narrow world, but as participants in a vast symphony whose music resounds across dimensions. There is something deeply soothing in the thought that every particle of your body, every atom of your being, the vibration of a tiny string, resonating within the hidden folds of higher dimensions. You are, a very real sense, music. You are a melody played upon the unseen harp of the universe. And the song that you are is inseparable from the song of the stars, the galaxies, and the cosmos itself. Each vibration is part of the same harmony, echoing across dimensions, connecting all things in ways we cannot see, but can feel in the quiet of contemplation. The extra layers of string theory remind us that life is always deeper than it appears. Just as a painting reveals more details the longer you look, the universe reveals greater complexity the further we explore. And yet, even as these hidden dimensions remain unseen, they are not absent. They are here, with us, in every moment, folded gently into the fabric of existence, shaping the laws that govern our lives, whispering quietly in the background of reality. To drift into this thought is to drift into a deeper calm, where the boundaries of space dissolve and the imagination stretches into the hidden layers of creation to understand the possibility of higher dimensions. Our minds often seek something familiar, something we can grasp within the limits of human perception. One of the most gentle and illuminating ways to approach this is through the analogy of shadows. A shadow is a simple thing, yet it carries within it a lesson about dimensions, about what is seen and what is hidden, and about how reality may be only a projection of something greater. In the stillness of thought, when the day has slowed and the night has embraced the earth, the shadow analogy offers a doorway to imagine dimensions beyond our own in a way that is both calming and profound. Imagine standing in the sunlight. Behind you, upon the ground, falls your shadow. The shadow is dark and flat, stretching across the surface of the earth. It mimics your shape, but it does not contain your depth. It shows your outline, but not your substance. It moves as you move, yet it cannot capture the fullness of who you are. The shadow is a projection of a higher dimensional object, you. And in this relationship, we begin to glimpse how our three-dimensional world might itself be a shadow of a higher dimensional universe. Something larger, richer, and more complete than what we perceive. When you gaze at your shadow, you do not mistake it for your body. You know, it is less, that it lacks the detail, texture, and form of the living being that casts it. And yet, the shadow reveals something true. It is not false, it is simply incomplete. Likewise, if our reality is the shadow of higher dimensions, then everything we know is both true and partial. The earth, the stars, the galaxies themselves may be outlines of deeper structures projected into the canvas of our three-dimensional perception. This is not a diminishment of reality, but an expansion of it. A suggestion that the fullness of existence is beyond the edges of our sight. Think of a two-dimensional world, a flat plane where beings exist only in length and width, without height. Imagine these beings looking up at a cube passing through their flat space. To them, the cube would not appear as a whole. Instead, they would see a square appearing, then expanding, then shrinking, as the cube moved through their plane. They would experience slices of a higher dimensional object, never perceiving the full reality of the cube itself. In the same way, we, as three-dimensional beings, may be experiencing slices of higher dimensional forms. What we see, touch, and measure may be cross-sections of something that extends beyond us, something we cannot perceive directly, yet whose presence shapes everything we experience. This analogy is not only scientific, but deeply comforting. It reminds us that limitations in perception are not failures, but natural aspects of our existence. Just as the shadow is not the whole body, our world may not be the whole universe. The mystery is not meant to frustrate but to soothe, for it suggests that there is always more than what is visible, always more than what is measurable. Reality, in this sense, is generous. It gives us glimpses, projections, shadows, and in those glimpses, we can rest knowing that the fullness exists, even if it is hidden. Imagine, for a moment, a lantern shining in the night, casting shadows upon the wall. You see shapes dancing across the surface, trees swaying, hands moving, forms shifting. To you, the shadows tell a story, but the story is incomplete. The real objects exist in three dimensions, but what you see is their projection, simplified by the nature of light and surface. In the same way, our universe may be a lantern casting shadows of higher dimensional truths. The light of existence may be shining from beyond, and what we live and breathe is the gentle play of those shadows across the fabric of our spacetime. This thought brings a sense of peace, because it tells us that we are not confined to the narrow limits of perception. Even if we cannot step directly into higher dimensions, we are part of them. We are their shadows, their reflections, their expressions. Every star in the night sky may be a projection of something greater, a multidimensional reality casting its light into our three-dimensional view. And we, too, are of that projection, living shadows of something more. Connected to a higher existence, we cannot fully see, but are intimately woven into. The shadow analogy also speaks to the way science itself progresses. For centuries, humanity lived in the shadow of knowledge, seeing only outlines of truth. The earth seemed flat until we discovered its curvature. The heavens seemed fixed until we saw the stars move. Time seemed absolute until Einstein showed it could stretch and bend. Each discovery revealed that what we thought was the whole was only a shadow of something deeper. Perhaps today, when we imagine higher dimensions, we are again at the threshold of realizing that what seems complete is only an outline, that reality itself has more depth than we have yet grasped. In this reflection, you can imagine yourself as both the shadow and the source. You are the shadow, living in a world of limited perception, shaped by the outlines of something larger, but you are also connected to the source, part of a being that extends into higher dimensions. The duality is soothing, because it means you are not diminished by your limitations. Instead, you are enriched by the knowledge that you belong to something greater, that your existence carries echoes of higher dimensional truths. To meditate on this is to embrace humility and wonder. Shadows remind us of both presence and absence. They show us what is here, and they hint at what is beyond. In the quiet of night, when you see your shadow stretch across the wall by the glow of a lamp, you can reflect on how that simple projection is a metaphor for the entire cosmos. It tells you that there is always more to see, always more to know, always more unfolding beyond the limits of vision. And yet, even in its incompleteness, the shadow is beautiful. It is part of the whole. The analogy also extends into time. Just as a shadow moves as the body moves, our moments in time may be shadows of a greater temporal dimension. We live through events as they unfold, experiencing the present as it passes. But perhaps the fullness of time exists all at once in higher dimensions. We are shadows moving through a temporal projection, perceiving slices of eternity. In this thought, the passing of time is not a loss, but a way of experiencing the infinite, in manageable glimpses, like shadows flickering across the wall. When you reflect on your own life, you may see it as a shadow cast by something larger. Your choices, your dreams, your consciousness may all be projections of a deeper essence. This does not lessen the meaning of life. It enriches it. It suggests that your being is rooted in a higher reality, that what you are is more than what you can see. The shadow is not separate from the object that casts it. It is part of it, inseparable. In the same way, we are inseparable from the higher dimensional truths of existence. And so, the shadow analogy becomes more than a teaching tool. It becomes a meditation, a soft lens through which to view the mystery of existence. Every shadow you see is a reminder that there is always more depth beyond what is visible. Every outline you perceive is an invitation to imagine the fullness that lies beyond it. Just as a shadow on the wall is shaped by a living being, our universe may be shaped by dimensions that extend beyond our reach, dimensions that hold us gently, casting us into the reality we know as life. When we reflect on the possibility of higher dimensions, it is not only a matter of abstract mathematics or quiet metaphors, it also reaches into the very mysteries that define our universe. At the edge of what we can see lies what physicists call the cosmic horizon, the farthest boundary of our observable universe. Beyond this horizon, light has not yet had time to reach us since the beginning of cosmic history. It is a boundary not of substance, but of perception, a limit of what we are able to know. And when we consider this horizon, the thought of higher dimensions becomes even more compelling, because it suggests that the secrets of dark matter, dark energy, and the invisible architecture of the cosmos may be bound up with spaces we cannot yet see, dimensions folded beyond our reach, dimensions that shape what unfolds on this side of the horizon. The cosmic horizon is, in a sense, a mirror. It reflects not what lies beyond, but what is possible to know from here. Imagine standing at the shore of a vast ocean, the waves stretching endlessly into the distance. As you gaze, your eyes eventually fail to resolve what lies at the farthest edge. You know the ocean continues beyond your sight, yet you cannot perceive it directly. The universe is like that ocean. The horizon is not the end of it, but the limit of our perception. And just as we trust the ocean extends beyond the line of sight, we trust the universe continues beyond the horizon, perhaps in ways more intricate than our senses can comprehend. When we look to the stars, we are looking back in time, because light takes years, centuries, or even billions of years to reach us. The farther we gaze, the further back in history we peer. Eventually, we approach the boundary of the observable, the moment when the first light emerged after the Big Bang. Beyond this boundary lies the unknown, and it is here, in this space of mystery, that higher dimensions might reside, not merely in the invisible smallness of curled-up spaces, but in vast structures stretching beyond our cosmic sight. One of the most profound puzzles in modern science is the nature of dark matter. Galaxies spin in ways that cannot be explained by the mass of the stars and gas alone. There must be something more, something unseen, exerting gravity and holding galaxies together. Scientists call this something dark matter, but what if it is not matter at all in the sense we understand it? What if its effects are the echoes of higher dimensions pressing gently into our world? Perhaps what we perceive as invisible mass is not an unseen substance, but the gravitational influence of structures that lie just beyond our dimensional reach, curving spacetime in ways we feel but cannot see. And then there is the even greater mystery of dark energy, the force that is causing the expansion of the universe to accelerate. Instead of slowing down under the pull of gravity, galaxies are rushing away from one another faster and faster, as though space itself is being stretched by an unseen hand. This hand might be the geometry of higher dimensions, the quiet influence of spaces beyond our own exerting pressure on the cosmos. The cosmic horizon expands ever outward because of this acceleration, and with it, the mystery deepens. What we cannot see grows faster than what we can, and the idea that higher dimensions play a role becomes a gentle comfort, suggesting that even the great unknown is part of a greater whole. Imagine, if you will, standing at the edge of a great plain at dusk. The horizon glows faintly with the last light of the sun. Beyond that line lies a landscape you cannot see, but you feel its presence. The wind carries whispers from it, the air is shaped by it, and the sky above stretches seamlessly into it. This is how the cosmic horizon feels in the quiet of thought. It is not an ending, but a threshold. It is not an emptiness, but a fullness too distant to perceive. And if higher dimensions are real, then the horizon is not just the boundary of our vision, it is a veil, behind which lies an even grander reality. The cosmic horizon also reminds us that we are small and yet connected. Every point in space has its own horizon, its own boundary of perception. A galaxy billions of light years away has its own horizon, different from ours, and within that horizon may lie entire regions of the cosmos that we will never share. And yet, all of these horizons are part of the same universe, stitched together in ways we can only imagine. This stitching might be the work of higher dimensional spaces, tying together regions of the cosmos like threads woven into a tapestry. To rest in this thought is to rest in the comfort of connection. Even across boundaries, we can never cross. In considering the cosmic horizon, we must also reflect on time. Just as space has its limits of perception, so too does time. There are moments we can look back upon, and moments we cannot. The early moments of the universe, before light could travel freely, are hidden from us, like a chapter torn from the book of existence. Yet even these hidden moments are part of the story, and the higher dimensions might hold them in their folds. Perhaps, in some sense, nothing is truly lost, but merely hidden from our perception, preserved in the unseen layers of reality. There is a poetic symmetry in the thought that just as we cannot see beyond the cosmic horizon, so too do we often fail to see beyond the horizons of our own lives. We live within the boundaries of perception, unable to glimpse what lies beyond tomorrow or beyond the limits of our own awareness. And yet, as with the cosmos, we trust that existence continues beyond those limits, shaped by structures we cannot yet perceive. This parallel between the personal and the cosmic brings a quiet reassurance. The unknown is not empty, but simply unseen. The horizon is not a wall, but an invitation to wonder. Physicists often speculate that beyond our horizon may lie other universes, other bubbles of reality, each with its own laws of physics. These possibilities arise naturally when higher dimensions are considered, because extra dimensions may allow for entire regions of spacetime to exist beyond our own, connected in ways invisible to us. This multiverse is not something we can prove today, but it flows from the same thought that gives us string theory, higher dimensions, and the idea of a reality richer than perception. Even if these universes are forever beyond our reach, they remind us that the cosmos is more abundant than we can imagine, and that our horizon is not the universe's end, but only the edge of our own sight. When you close your eyes and breathe deeply, you can imagine yourself standing at your own cosmic horizon. Around you stretches the familiar, the stars you know, the earth beneath you, the life you live, and beyond the horizon lies the unknown, vast and infinite. It does not threaten you. It embraces you. It is not darkness, but potential. The cosmic horizon, in this sense, is not a boundary to be feared, but a reminder to be cherished that the universe is always larger than what we know, always deeper than what we can measure, always unfolding beyond the edges of perception. And in that thought, the idea of higher dimensions becomes not just a theory but a comfort. If the universe is shaped by unseen layers, then the mysteries of dark matter, dark energy, and the accelerating cosmos are not unsolvable puzzles but signs of the richness of existence. They remind us that even at the very edge of our knowledge, where the horizon meets the unknown, there is beauty. The cosmic horizon is not an end but a beginning, a gentle veil that conceals higher realities waiting quietly beyond our view. When we speak of higher dimensions, the mathematics can feel abstract, the theories intricate and tangled in complexity. Yet beneath all the science lies something profoundly human: the ability to imagine, to visualize what cannot be seen, to dream of realities beyond the familiar, to create in the mind a world where the rules are different and the perspective is entirely new. Dreamlike visualization becomes a bridge between science and wonder, between equations and rest, between what we know and what we can only feel. It is here, in this quiet space, that higher dimensional spacetime comes alive, not only as a concept, but as an experience that soothes and stirs the imagination. Imagine lying comfortably beneath a dark sky, the stars scattered like glowing dust across the canvas of night. As your breathing slows, allow yourself to picture the world not in 3 dimensions, but in something more. At first, you're surrounded by the familiar length, width, and height, the way your body rests in space, the way the stars seem distant but reachable through imagination. But slowly, a veil begins to lift, and the universe unfolds into dimensions beyond. The fabric of space stretches not just outward, but inward, around, and through, as if the very air is filled with unseen corridors. You feel them, like gentle currents moving through you, shaping reality in ways you never realized. This is not fantasy, but the quiet gift of visualization, a way of tasting the science of higher dimensions without the need for numbers or proof. Physicists often compare our 3-dimensional existence to a shadow. A shadow appears on the wall, flat and without depth, a mere echo of a fuller reality. If you were a being that existed only in the shadow, you would have no sense of height, no concept of moving beyond the surface. And yet, the one casting the shadow knows there is more, knows that depth exists. In the same way, we may be shadows of something greater, those of a higher dimensional reality. To visualize this is to close your eyes and imagine yourself as a shadow on a wall, moving across a surface that feels like the whole of existence. Then, little by little, imagine lifting from that surface, stepping into depth, feeling dimensions open before you that were always there, but hidden. In dreamlike visualization, there are no constraints, and so we can walk gently through these hidden corridors. Picture a world where time is not a single line, but a landscape. Instead of moving forward second by second, imagine yourself standing in a field where every moment of your life is a flower in bloom, scattered across the meadow. You can walk among them, step into the past as easily as into the present, wander into the future as though it is already alive. This is what some interpretations of higher dimensions suggest, that time itself might be laid out like a tapestry, and our movement through it is only one way of experiencing it. To rest in this vision is to let go of the tight grip of linear time, to let the mind drift through moments freely, as though the entire story of existence is already written, and you are simply moving through the pages at your own pace. The dreamlike imagery extends to the vast cosmos. Imagine the universe not as a flat expansion, but as a sphere suspended in a greater space, a bubble floating in a sea of other bubbles. Each bubble is a universe, complete with its own laws of physics, its own galaxies, its own horizons. Between them lie the higher dimensions, invisible threads connecting one bubble to the next. As you drift into this vision, you see the delicate shimmer of those threads, like strands of silk glistening in the dark. They connect everything, weaving reality into a pattern more intricate than any fabric on Earth. The sight is overwhelming and yet soothing, for it suggests that no matter how far apart the universes drift, they are all part of one greater whole. In these moments of visualization, it becomes easier to understand why physicists talk of dimensions curled up beyond our sight. Imagine walking into a room where everything looks ordinary, but then you bend down and look closely at a tiny carpet, woven with loops and curls so small they seem invisible at first glance. To our eyes, the carpet appears flat, but under magnification, its texture is rich with depth and complexity. The extra dimensions may be like that, hidden in the folds of space, so small we cannot see them, and yet essential to the fabric of reality. Visualize these curled spaces as tiny gardens tucked within every point of the universe, each one alive with possibilities. As you breathe, imagine that every particle around you carries a secret garden of dimensions folded quietly inside, shaping the world in ways beyond perception. There is a meditative quality in imagining higher dimensions, because it draws you into a state where the boundaries of the familiar dissolve. Instead of walls, there are pathways. Instead of limits, there are doorways. Close your eyes and picture yourself walking through one of these doorways, not into another room, but into a dimension that cannot be described by ordinary words. Perhaps it feels like light folding in on itself, or like sound you can see and color you can touch. Perhaps it feels like floating in water where the currents pass not just around you, but through you, carrying you to places you cannot name. This is the dreamlike power of higher dimensions. They stretch the imagination into spaces that suit the mind, freeing it from the narrowness of daily thought. Dreamlike visualization also brings a profound sense of humility. When you imagine the vastness of higher dimensional spacetime, you realize that our human perspective is small, like a bird flying over an endless forest. The bird sees only trees and sky, but the forest is also soil and roots, rivers and caves, hidden worlds beneath the canopy. So too, and we, like the bird, flying over a forest of dimensions we cannot see. But in closing our eyes and dreaming, we allow ourselves to feel those hidden worlds, to rest in their possibility. It is not about solving equations, but about opening the heart to wonder, and in that wonder lies comfort. To visualize higher dimensions is to imagine that we are not trapped in a small corner of existence, but embraced by a reality more spacious than we can conceive. It suggests that what we call the unknown is not empty, but abundant, filled with unseen layers that nurture the universe like hidden roots feeding the tree. Dreamlike visualization lets us drift into this abundance, like floating on a calm river, the water carrying us toward a horizon we cannot see, but can trust. The dimensions are like the current, unseen yet steady, guiding us gently into the greater mystery of existence. As the night deepens and the stars continue their silent glow, your mind drifts into that mystery. Imagine yourself not bound by 3 dimensions, but surrounded by many, each one a doorway, each one a new way of being. Allow yourself to rest in the folds of higher dimensional space, where time spreads out like a meadow and space curls into hidden gardens, where the universe is a tapestry of countless threads woven together. In this dreamlike visualization, the boundaries dissolve, the unknown becomes a friend, and the cosmos becomes not something distant and cold, but something that cradles you gently. Like a vast and endless home. When we approach the idea of higher dimensional spacetime, we find ourselves standing at the threshold where science and philosophy begin to overlap. Science gives us the language of mathematics, of theories and experiments, of hypotheses that can be tested and predictions that can be measured. Philosophy, on the other hand, offers the reflection of meaning, the contemplation of what these discoveries imply for existence, consciousness, and the human experience. Higher dimensions invite both disciplines into a dialogue. because the possibility that we live inside a reality richer than our perception raises not only technical questions, but also deep philosophical ones about what it means to exist at all. Think of Einstein's theory of relativity. At one level, it is a scientific theory, a precise mathematical description of how space and time are connected, how gravity bends the fabric of reality, how light moves through the cosmos. But when you pause and reflect, relativity also speaks to a philosophical truth that the universe is not what it appears to be, that our ordinary intuition about time and space is incomplete, that reality is stranger than we imagine. Philosophy steps in to ask, if time is relative, if space can bend, what does this mean for our sense of permanence? What does it mean for memory, for identity, for the way we think about the past and the future? Science shows us how the universe works, while philosophy asks us what it means to live inside such a universe. Higher dimensions extend this dialogue even further. If string theory and related frameworks are correct, then our universe is not limited to the 3 dimensions we see and the 1 dimension of time we feel. Instead, reality might unfold across 10 or 11 dimensions, many of them hidden, compact, curled in ways we cannot observe directly. Science tells us how this could explain gravity, dark matter, and the unification of forces. But philosophy asks, what does it mean to be a creature confined to 3 visible dimensions, knowing that more exists beyond reach? Does this suggest that our perception of the universe is profoundly limited, that we are like fish in a pond who cannot imagine the world beyond the water's surface? And if so, does that mean our entire picture of existence is only partial, an approximation of something greater? This tension between what can be measured and what can only be imagined is where the beauty of the dialogue resides. Philosophy has always grappled with the unseen, the transcendent, the possibility that reality exceeds appearance. Plato spoke of the allegory of the cave, where humans see only shadows on the wall, mistaking them for the whole of reality. In many ways, the scientific notion of higher dimensions is a modern echo of that allegory. We may be experiencing only the shadow of a fuller reality, unaware of the higher dimensional truths that cast the shadows. Science provides the equations to describe this possibility, while philosophy offers the language to understand its deeper implications. The question of consciousness also arises in this space. If higher dimensions exist, then the mind itself might not be fully bound to the physical brain as we currently understand it. Some philosophers and physicists have speculated that consciousness could be related to higher dimensional structures, that our awareness may be like a projection into 3-dimensional space from something that extends beyond. This is not to say that science has proven such a connection, it has not, but the idea invites reflection. If our thoughts, our sense of self, our awareness of existence are linked to dimensions beyond the visible, then the boundary between the physical and the metaphysical blurs. We become not merely beings within space, but beings shaped by the hidden architecture of spacetime itself. Another layer of philosophy emerges when we think about the limits of knowledge. Science thrives on discovery, on expanding what is known, on pushing the horizon farther and farther. Yet higher dimensions remind us that there may always be aspects of reality beyond our ability to measure or test. If extra dimensions are curled so tightly that they are inaccessible to experiment, do they still count as real? This is not just a scientific question, but a philosophical one. About the nature of reality itself. Must reality be measurable to exist? Or does reality include what cannot be measured, what lies permanently outside the reach of instruments and observation? Science seeks answers, while philosophy reminds us that some mysteries may be permanent, and that the value lies not only in solving, but also in contemplating them. There is also the question of meaning. If we are living in a higher dimensional universe, what does that mean for us as human beings? Some might find it humbling, even unsettling, to think that our perception of the universe is so limited that we exist in a narrow slice of a greater reality. Others might find it comforting, a reminder that existence is larger than what we can see, that mystery is woven into the very fabric of being. Philosophy allows us to wrestle with these feelings, to reflect on how the science of higher dimensions changes our sense of belonging in the cosmos. It suggests that mystery is not a void to be feared, but a presence to be embraced, a reminder that the unknown is not absence, but abundance. Consider also the ethical and existential implications. If higher dimensions are real, then our current picture of the cosmos is radically incomplete. What does this say about our confidence in human knowledge? What does it say about the way we treat our planet, our species, our search for meaning? Philosophy teaches us humility, the reminder that certainty is always provisional, that every answer opens into new questions. Science tells us what is likely. Philosophy asks us what it means to live within uncertainty, to find peace not in final answers, but in the journey of exploration. There is a quiet poetry in realizing that science and philosophy are not separate, but partners in this exploration. Science reaches out into the unknown with equations, experiments, and observation. Philosophy reflects inward, asking how these discoveries reshape our sense of self, our values, our orientation toward the universe. Together, they create a harmony like two instruments in the same symphony. The music of higher dimensions is not just the hum of mathematics, but the resonance of meaning. The way knowledge and reflection weave together into a fuller picture of existence. As you breathe in the stillness of night and let your thoughts drift toward these higher dimensions, you can feel this harmony. The equations do not need to be solved for you to sense their presence. The philosophical questions do not need to be answered for you to feel their importance. It is enough to imagine that you are more than a creature of three dimensions, that you are part of a reality deeper and richer than you can see. It is enough to reflect that science is not only about measuring and testing, but also about inviting wonder, about bringing us face to face with the limits of knowledge and the beauty that lies beyond those limits. The dream of higher dimensions becomes, then, not only a scientific pursuit, but a philosophical meditation. It is a reminder that the universe is both knowable and unknowable, measurable and mysterious, finite and infinite in its depths. It is a reminder that to be human is to dwell in this tension, to live within a reality that is larger than we can grasp, to seek understanding even as we accept mystery. And in this dwelling, science and philosophy meet, each offering its gift, each illuminating a path into the vast unknown. When we have journeyed through the idea of higher dimensional spacetime, from the calm vastness of dimensions to Einstein's unification of space and time, from the hidden folds of string theory to the analogies of shadows and the mysteries of the cosmic horizon, and from dreamlike visualization to the dialogue between science and philosophy, what lingers most is not the certainty of knowledge, but the quiet resonance of wonder. Closing reflection is not about drawing conclusions or resolving the mysteries. It is about resting in the awareness that these questions exist, that they reach into the very fabric of who we are, and that by simply contemplating them, we become part of something larger than ourselves. Imagine lying in a quiet room as the night deepens outside your window. The hum of daily life fades, the air is still, and the stars, though distant, remind you of the boundless universe overhead. In this stillness, the mind is free to wander, free to lift from the confines of ordinary thought and step gently into the possibility of higher dimensions. You don't need to solve the equations or master the theories. All you need is the willingness to let curiosity soften into reflection. Closing your eyes, you allow the thought to settle in. Perhaps the universe is not simply what it seems. Perhaps existence is more than three dimensions and a linear flow of time. Perhaps, in ways you cannot measure, but can only feel, you are already living within a reality richer, deeper, and more spacious than your senses reveal. The reflection grows tender when we think about our place in this larger story. For centuries, humanity has sought to understand the cosmos. We have built telescopes to look into the distant past, accelerators to probe the smallest scales, and equations to capture the dance of the universe. Each discovery opens a new horizon, and yet each horizon whispers that there is more. Higher dimensions are not just a scientific hypothesis. They are a reminder of humility. They remind us that what we see is not all there is, that behind the visible lies the invisible, Behind the measurable lies the mysterious. To live with this awareness is to embrace life as an unfolding mystery, a story still being written across dimensions both seen and unseen. The reflection deepens when we imagine how these dimensions might weave into our lives in ways unseen. What if the love we feel, the connections we form, the memories that linger are themselves threads tied to something higher? What if our awareness is more than the firing of neurons, more than the play of chemistry in the brain, but a window, however small, into dimensions of consciousness that stretch beyond space and time? Science has not answered these questions, and perhaps it never will, but philosophy and imagination remind us that there is no harm in pondering, no harm in letting the thought carry us gently into the realm of possibility. It does not weaken the science to dream of meaning. It strengthens the human experience of the science. There is also comfort in this reflection. Life often feels bounded by limits: the limit of time, the limit of perception, the limit of what can be achieved or known. But higher dimensions whisper that limits are not walls, but doorways. They suggest that what feels final may be a transition. What feels small may be part of something vast. What feels fleeting may be connected to something eternal. Just as the cosmic horizon is not an end but a threshold, so too are the boundaries of our understanding thresholds into greater mystery. Closing reflection allows us to feel this comfort, to let go of the need for answers, and simply to rest in the knowledge that reality is larger than we can hold. When we think of higher dimensional spacetime, it can feel daunting. 11 dimensions, curled geometry, unseen forces. These ideas challenge our intuition and push against the boundaries of imagination. But when we let the ideas soften into imagery, they become like gentle waves against the shore of thought. You may not grasp every detail, but you can feel the rhythm, the movement, the suggestion of something beyond. The details matter for the scientists, but for reflection, it is the sense of wonder that matters most. The possibility that you are more than a creature bound to 3 dimensions, that you are part of a story stretching across hidden layers of existence, is enough to carry you into a state of awe. In this awe lies a subtle form of peace. To live in a world where the unknown exists is not a burden, but a gift. It means that there is always more to discover, more to imagine, more to reflect upon. The unknown is not emptiness. It is fullness, waiting to be unfolded. Higher dimensions remind us of this fullness, of the depth hidden in every corner of existence. Even if we never see these dimensions directly, even if they remain forever curled beyond our reach, their possibility enriches our understanding of life. To know that the universe might be so vast, so layered, so intricate, is to be reminded that existence is more beautiful than we can fully grasp. As you breathe in the quiet of night, you can allow this reflection to settle into you. Feel the presence of the unseen dimensions as though they are gentle currents moving around you, through you, shaping reality in ways you cannot perceive. Feel the calm that comes with knowing you do not need to solve the mysteries to be part of them. Feel the comfort in realizing that you are already immersed in this greater reality, already embraced by the folds of higher dimensional space. The reflection is not about reaching a conclusion. It is about allowing the thought to become part of your rest, part of your breath, part of your quiet journey into sleep. As we come to the close of this journey through the idea of higher dimensional spacetime, what remains is not a final answer, but a deepened sense of wonder. We began by exploring the calm vastness of dimensions, realizing that the world we perceive may only be a fragment of a larger reality. We moved into Einstein's vision of spacetime, where space and time are woven into a single fabric, reshaping our understanding of how the universe holds itself together. We drifted into the folds of string theory, where extra dimensions may lie hidden, curled within the very structure of existence. We reflected on the shadow analogy, imagining that our 3-dimensional lives might be but projections of something richer. We looked toward the cosmic horizon, the edge of what we can see, and allowed ourselves to wonder what lies beyond, perhaps shaped by the unseen hand of higher dimensions. We opened ourselves to dreamlike visualization, stepping gently into imaginations where time is a landscape and space is filled with hidden corridors. We allowed science to meet philosophy, not only to ask how the universe works, but also what it means to live within such a universe. And finally, we rested in closing reflection, letting the mysteries cradle us in the awareness that reality is always deeper than perception. This conclusion is not an end, but an invitation to carry the sense of wonder with you, to let it settle into the quiet spaces of your mind, and to remember that even as we live in the familiar dimensions of daily life, we may already be immersed in a greater reality, one that whispers its presence in the mysteries of gravity, time, and consciousness. The unknown is not something to fear, but to embrace, because it reminds us that existence is always larger, always more beautiful, always more mysterious than we can yet imagine.